And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Today I'm going to be talking about an expansion for this game, which is Soup, or the English version, which is Primordial Soup. Freshly spiced. It's the 5 to 6 player expansion, adds 2 more players to the game, and adds a bunch of mutations. Well, I kind of just told you everything you need to know about it, but I'll show you a little bit more detail. The board is set up just like the original one, except now you can have 5 or 6 players. That's the biggest thing this game adds, is 2 new colors, purple and black, who are the same shapes as some of the other pieces, but they have little smiley faces on if you're colorblind to help differentiate them. And so now there's a lot more cubes on the board, but the rules are, whether you're playing 5 or 6 players, that you need to eat 4 other cubes. So if this purple one moves here and needs to eat 1, he eats 1 green, 1 blue, 1 yellow, 1 red. In a 6-player game, there's actually 5 colors for him to pick from, so he just picks 4 of those colors to eat. I actually don't recommend playing this game with 6 players. It takes a long time, but I could see it going up to 5. A little better. The rules, so that's really the only rule change with those. There's also somewhat of a scoring change, and players will get 11 biological points each turn rather than 10 to mess with. So there's that. The biggest change that Freshly Spiced adds is it adds a whole pile of cards, extra cards to upgrade your amoebas, and the rules tell you, and I agree, that you might not want to use every single one of these in every game because, well, first of all, anyone who has analysis paralysis is going to take forever picking them out, and secondly, there's just so many different combinations that it's going to drag the game down as you try to figure them out. But let me show you a couple of them. Healing. When you take damage, you can reduce it by 1. You can pay to heal yourself. Pay a couple biological points. This one's one of my favorite. Go out with a bang. When you die, you do a damage to everybody else. I would take this one and then deliberately starve myself. I don't know why. Social gene. This is some kind of loser gene that if you're in last place, you can steal biological points from other players. Energy conservation. You get biological points if you drift rather than moving. Cleanliness. Excrete to adjacent squares. Well, we'll leave that one where it's at. Migration sensor. You can look at the environmental card earlier, the one that tells you what direction you're going in. PhD is still useless. Then there's some cards that kind of give you negative and positives. This, you die with only 1 wound, but you only cost 4 rather than 6. You can put out a whole bunch of cheap ones that are going to die quickly. Glutton gives you -2, but at the same time, you need an extra food to survive. If you're attacking, you might want to buy camouflage if you like to kill other people, because this 50% of the time will stop any kind of defensive maneuver they have. Suction, you can eat a food cube from adjacent squares, always fun. Rebounding off obstacles. Hard crust, attacks cost extra for the attacker. He has to get a better fork. You can have toxic excretions. This is probably one of the most joked about cards in the game if you play with it, because when you do your little excretions, pooping from your thing, you will also drop a wound, and the next person to eat there gets that wound. I don't know what you expect when you're eating someone else's poop. This one's more of a silly one. Doris and Frank gene. The owner decides what to play next. In some groups, though, this would be quite fought over. Doris and Frank are the designers of the game, thus the name of this gene. Fast food, you can eat first and then move. And so there's all different things here. There's the upgrade one. Suction 2, you can eat 2 food cubes. Healing 2. So that's basically what's in this game. 2 more colors and a whole lot more cards. So that's basically it. I mean, that's what's in the game. There's not a whole lot of more surprises and such, but let's talk a little bit about it. First of all, adding the 5th player and 6th player, okay, it's neat that there's more cubes, and I like the fact that now we can switch out between black and purple and, mix those up. That's great, but 6th player could be kind of long, and I don't know that I play this to 6 players. I'll play with 5. 6 players is a little long for this game, but The reason you get this expansion is not to get the new colors, it's to get all those new mutations. Now, you can throw them all in willy-nilly and play with them all, which could really slow the game down as players take their time. And I should mention, the game does come with, the expansion comes with a whole bunch of little booklets here that explain each of all the new viruses, and so you'll see players doing this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and that's great, you know. It's fun to have all those options, but they have recommended, and I agree, that you just take some of those and add them to a game. Yeah, you can throw them all in, but you better make sure the players are experienced and know what they're doing. It's a fun expansion. Is it necessary for the game? No, it's not. But if you like it a lot and you really want to play with 5 players or even 6, you can do so. But if you want a whole lot more options with all the different mutations, well, then you definitely want this one. A lot of things going on. This makes a very, very good game, a great game actually, a little bit better, while at the same time, it can also make it a little bit longer. Do you want that? Choice is up to you.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find the latest board game news at Dicetowernews.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Fun Again Games, the world's best game source. Fun Again Games has over 5,000 games available. Check them out at funagain.com.
There.